AutoLine Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, your journey, our passion, and by Dow Automotive Systems, improving durability and increasing design flexibility with Betamate structural adhesives at dowbetamate.com.
Hello and welcome to AutoLine Daily and the end of the work week. Later on in the show, we'll show you why Mercedes-Benz thinks touchscreens are a bad idea in big cars. But first, let's get to the news. Mini showed off a concept vehicle which shows the next design direction for the brand. It's what they're calling the Mini Vision. Notice that the grille is a lot bigger, is no longer split by the bumper, and the fog lamps are moved inside the grille, which is also flanked by air intakes located just in front of the front wheels. The hood scoop is less pronounced, and the beltline highlight now carries down the front fenders into the front wheel well highlight. The headlamps are now LEDs and are more elliptical. It's interesting to see how much they changed and yet left the car instantly recognizable as a Mini. General Motors reported its earnings yesterday, and there's good news and bad news in the numbers. GM managed to boost its global car sales by 4%. It was up in every region of the world except Europe. Its revenues went up by almost the same amount. They hit $39 billion, up $1.4 billion from a year ago. The really good news is that GM's operating profit was up more than 7%, thanks to solid results in North America, a huge improvement in South America, a massive reduction in losses in Europe, but strangely, a big drop in GM's international operations, which are mainly China. GM blamed that on lower wholesale deliveries, a poorer mix, lower prices, and higher costs. But the bad news is that GM's net profit fell 19% from a year ago, and we've got to believe those issues in its international operations are to blame. GM also outsold Toyota worldwide in the second quarter, not by much, only 10,000 units, but still, GM pulled out ahead in the last 3 months. Toyota was hurt by the anti-Japanese backlash in China and the weak Japanese market. The company says it will sell 10 million vehicles this year, which would be an industry record, but these latest sales numbers show GM is not out of the running, not by a long shot. Free trade negotiations between the U.S. and Europe could lead to something automakers have dreamed of for decades. Ward's Auto reports that the two sides are in discussions to recognize each other's safety standards for cars. In other words, cars tested in the U.S. could be sold in Europe without having to pass additional tests, and vice versa. Japan and South Korea have similar standards to Europe, so this could lead to a global harmonization in standards. Automakers have dreamed of common standards for at least 40 years, and this would definitely save them a lot of money. Car imports to China fell 10% during the first half of the year. Gasgoo reports German luxury brands were hit the hardest. Imports from BMW, Mercedes, and Audi dropped anywhere from 3 to 23%. And this will hurt their bottom line because they don't have to split import profits with their Chinese partners. Surprisingly, American-made imports bucked the trend and saw their share rise more than 4%. And this, despite the fact that U.S. cars are slapped with hefty tariffs. Acura released an image of its NSX prototype to promote its unveil before the IndyCar race at Mid-Ohio Raceway. The car will take a ceremonial lap around the track before the race on August 4th. The prototype keeps the same styling and proportions as the concept that was shown at the Detroit Auto Show. It's powered by a mid-engine hybrid V6 with all-wheel drive, but the production version will not debut until 2015. Coming up next, Mercedes-Benz thinks that touch screens don't make much sense in big cars.
There's so much to love about Bridgestone's Dueler tires. The amazing traction, the quiet, comfortable ride, and they're really tough. It's like loving 3 tires in one.
On AutoLine this week, my television show, my guest is Johan Jungwirth, the president and CEO of research for Mercedes-Benz in North America. He has some interesting things to say about how drivers should interface with all that electronic content coming into cars. Take a look. Where do you think it's all going to shake out for the consumer? in the next 10 years? Touch screen, voice activated, mechanical switches, or this rotary joystick?
So I think it's going to be a combination. At the end of the day, it is about, let's say, naturally interfacing with the car. And at the moment, it's kind of reduced to voice interaction and either touchscreen or kind of center controller or so to speak. Especially in larger vehicles, where we care a lot about let's say the interior of the vehicle and having beautiful space around you, and with that the displays are automatically a little bit further away, and it doesn't make a lot of sense actually to do a touchscreen solution, especially when it comes to midsize or larger cars, where you would get out of your seat basically to be able to reach the screen. So it's much more comfortable to do it via voice or to use a controller, or go and even think about touch surfaces, touchpads, think about gesture control, think about gaze. So we are working, of course, in our research and advanced engineering labs, on all of these solutions, and looking at multimodal, interfacing. And at the end of the day, it's not all size fits all. So it's really about, creating what's natural, and also for different applications, different, let's say, modalities might be more natural.
Chubba Chetta, formerly of Car and Driver Magazine, and Mike Austin of Popular Mechanics are also on that show, and you can watch it in its entirety on our website, autoline.tv, or check your public television listings if you live in the US and Canada, because we're practically available coast to coast. Anyway, that wraps up this week's reports. Have a great weekend, and please join us again here on Monday.
Ward's is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.